Hello, Year 10s and Year 10 parents. Today's assembly is on the return to school starting next week, Monday. The aim of the assembly is to outline the plan for a return to face-to-face lessons, discuss their health and safety plans to reduce the risk, and also outline key rules and routines, particularly around entry to school, lessons around school, during break times, and how we exit from school. There are a number of reasons why we're all so keen for the students to return. Firstly, it'd be great for them to be in some sort of routine. Having 2 months off school is an extremely long time, and it'd be nice for them to have the opportunity to acclimatise back to being in the school building. We equally want to provide an opportunity for them to see their friends and their peers at a social distance. Their learning is obviously crucial, and by having face-to-face learning with their core subject teachers, we're beginning to bridge that gap between the learning that has potentially been missed and starting to catch up on it. This will obviously also enable some more in-depth question and answer situations, personal feedback, improve their progress, and start to have a better understanding from a teaching point of view of any misconceptions that have occurred during this time away. We equally just want them to feel like a student again. Now, year 10, so there's not much that you need to do to prepare between now and when you are due to come in. A lot of you are currently not in any sort of bedtime routine. Now's the time to start trying to get back into one. Make sure you're setting your alarm and getting used to waking up at a certain time and actually getting out of bed when that alarm goes off, and also into a better routine of having breakfast. I know for some of you, this has been a battle I have fought and lost over the past 4 years, but as we've discussed in assemblies throughout the time you've been at APA, starting the day with a really substantial meal is really beneficial for your concentration and also how you engage with everything throughout your day. Other things to be aware of: it is normal school uniform, although you are allowed your trainers. That's because we encourage you to come in by walking or cycling where possible. You are not allowed to wear sliders though, so please do not arrive at school with sliders on. Another key thing to bear in mind: there'll be no food available at school, so you must bring a packed lunch, and you should ideally be bringing in bottled water and not obviously any fizzy drinks or fruit juices or anything. Ideally, remember, you have your APA reusable bottle. You are more than welcome to bring that in. Getting to school is likely to look a lot different to normal. Obviously, where possible, we'd like you to try and avoid public transport and think about whether you can walk or cycle to school. Remember, there are more than enough bike railings at school for those of you who maybe didn't previously used to cycle in, but now would like to. If public transport is unavoidable, remember your journey is likely to take longer than usual. So really have a think about how long your normal journey might take and making sure you're leaving out with a bit more time than that to factor any delays in. Equally, remember, if you do have to use public transport, it is still free to students. I know there has been some mixed messages in the news recently, but it is still free. Just please make sure you have your zip card. Equally, you must now cover your mouth and nose on public transport. That is allowed to be just a scarf or a jumper or a face mask if you have one. In terms of coming to school, there are two gates for student access. As you're aware, the Year 10s and Year 12s are both coming in at the same time. The Year 12s will be using their normal entrance on Hayward Gardens. You guys will be using the entrance on Pullman Gardens. Now, that's not the one that we use at the end of the day. It's this one that we usually use for vehicles. Once you come through that gate, you need to go round the back of the hall and line up on the basketball court playground. You must obviously, in transitioning from public transport through the gate on school site, remain 2 meters apart at all times. And then whilst you're waiting to be collected by your teacher, make sure you're also standing 2 meters apart in the line. When you are brought in by your teacher, there will be a multitude of hand sanitizing stations. Every time you leave the building at break or lunch or coming in or out of school, you'll be expected to wash your hands. At times, obviously, there will be time to go to the toilet to do so, but like I said, there are lots of hand sanitizing stations at all of the entrances so that you're able to do that. In your lessons, you will have a dedicated classroom that only your class will use for that day, and your teacher will come to you. You will have a designated seat in that classroom and a designated work pack labelled with your name, and that pack will contain everything you need for the school day. So including things like a whiteboard pen, a pen for you to use, a green pen, and all of the work that you're going to need to complete. A reminder, if you take your workbook home, it cannot come back into school. So your teachers will be giving you very clear guidelines as to whether the piece of work you're doing is something that needs to remain in school, or if you're allowed to take it home and then complete some more of it and perhaps take a picture of it. But anything from home cannot come back into school. Within the classroom, at all times, there'll be a 2 meters distance, not only between students, but also between staff as well. This is all really clearly laid out in the classroom, but it does mean that you will have to remain seated for the entirety of your lesson. Obviously, there is no touching allowed and you will remain at 2 meters distance. As explained, you will have your own table, own equipment, own booklet, and anytime the teacher needs to touch your booklet, they will do so with gloves or using a plastic wallet if they want to use it on the visualizer. With all of this, all that I would ask is that you remain patient. This is something that obviously we've used all the government guidelines known to mankind to make sure that we are all safe, but we are all having to adapt to this together. So please be patient with your teachers and with each other as we get used to this being our way of learning for the next 5 weeks. In the post this week, you'll receive a timetable outlining exactly when you are expected to be in school. We need you to make sure you arrive at 9 o'clock so that we can have a prompt start to your lessons. As discussed, you will only have English, Maths and Science on a rotation, and you'll be taught in a bubble of at most 10 other students. Options work will still continue and will be on Show My Homework on a Monday and due on a Thursday. So even if, for example, you're due in school on a Tuesday, you still have Monday, Wednesday and Thursday to complete your work and get it submitted. Here is an example of a school day. As mentioned, on any given day, there will be at most 30 of you in the building, split into 3 groups. Each group will just have English, Math and Science on rotation, with break and lunch splitting up those lessons. Like I said before, each time you leave the classroom, you'll be expected to line up and sanitize your hands on entry. As mentioned, there are bubbles, and that is a word that you'll hear a lot of the time when you're in. These bubbles have primarily been done based on your classes that you're in for English, Maths and Science, but then I've also had a hand in looking at who in particular is in which bubble of 10. So I've done my best where possible to try and keep you with people, from my opinion, you're potentially sociable with. These are the bubbles that you will stay in for the next 5 weeks. And hopefully they're bubbles that you are able to not only engage academically with, but also they are your friends, hopefully, so you'll get some chance to see your friends. Again, as said, all of this is about protecting not only you guys and staff, but also your loved ones. So it is really, really important throughout the school day that you make sure you wash your hands regularly with soap and water or with the hand sanitizer that's available, that you make sure you cover your mouth and nose while sneezing or coughing, that you avoid any close contact with anyone, particularly if they have any cold or flu-like symptoms, and that if you come down with a fever or cough or difficulty breathing, that you seek medical care very early. We also obviously are in a situation where we can easily get tested. So if at any point you come down with any symptoms, it is important that you go and get tested as soon as possible, and you make sure you inform the school as soon as possible. As I said, throughout the building, basic rules apply at all times. So regardless whether you're in the classroom or at the playground, you must stay 2 meters apart. You cannot touch each other. You must continue to wash your hands. You are more than welcome to bring in your own hand wash if you have it. Not that anyone is going around spitting at anybody, but please no spitting or coughing or spluttering near people. You cannot share equipment. You cannot still use your phones in school, which is a normal school policy. And something just to bear in mind, there will be toilets allocated to your class. So you will only be allowed to use those allocated toilets. You'll be shown where these are. In terms of exiting, it's very similar to the entrance. So your final teacher of the day will escort you out the building. You will leave any work in your space in the classroom. You'll wash your hands before leaving, and then you'll leave through the dedicated entrance and exit through the same gate that you came in on. Again, throughout all of that, you'll be expected to stay at 2 meters distance the entire time. Now, in terms of hygiene, a lot of cleaning will be taking place throughout the school day and also when you guys aren't here. That includes things like classrooms, surfaces, toilets, doors and handles, all the corridors, and a thorough deep clean at the end of each day. As mentioned, you will have a designated classroom. No other student will be entering that classroom space. And we hope that by doing that and only having your teachers coming in and out of that room, that we're able to keep hygiene at the top of our list. Now, loads of you submitted loads of questions, so I wanted to take a moment to go through some of them. Firstly, I've had some questions about the induction meetings that were initially proposed. Those are no longer happening. What we're going to be doing is your first lesson next week. Your teacher will take some time going through a video that Mr. Mack has prepared for you and answering any additional questions that you might have. Like I said, I've overseen kind of the making of the bubbles. I have done my best to make sure you're with your friends where possible, but a reminder that overarching constraint is what English, Maths, Science class you're in. In terms of the timing of the day, it is a bit shorter than usual because we only expect you on site between 9 and 2:30. That's because we do want to make sure that those of you who are using public transport are able to avoid those peak times in the day. Students who are unable to come in, don't worry, we haven't forgotten about you. We are putting systems in place so that you are able to engage with the lesson even if you are unable to come in. Lots of you understandably have concerns about what the GCSE exams will look like and how you're going to catch up. The message I will give with that is don't worry about it right now. I think there's so much that's up in the air and so much that is unknown right now. Who knows what next month will look like, let alone this time next year. So rest assured that we will be doing everything as your teachers to make sure that you are covering all of the content you need in as stress-free as a way as possible. Because what we don't want is that you feel overwhelmed. This period of time is in no way your fault. And so there's no need for you to carry the stress of trying to work out how to catch up. We will do that for you. Equally, there have been lots of questions about what's going to be covered in the lessons. We are hoping that because we will now be in classrooms, that we'll be able to move towards newer content. Whereas at the moment, I know lots of teachers have just been working on revision with you. The hope is that the revision we would normally have started doing in year 11, you've now made a considerable contribution to now already. So that revision process next year is a lot easier because you've already done a lot of revision at the moment. Another question is whether you'll have any more English, Maths and Science work to do for the week. The answer to that is yes. So for example, Maths Set 1, we at the moment have been doing one lesson and one Hecate Maths task a week. That will continue. Similar to the questions about GCSE exams, a lot of you have asked about what school will look like in September. Again, I generally don't know. I can say obviously there are plans in motion for as many of the eventualities that could come up. But each day, obviously, it's just about reacting to the government guidelines and making sure that we're doing everything possible to keep you and staff and your family safe. I've had a couple of questions about uniform while cycling. Obviously, we appreciate that if you are cycling into school, you need to be dressed appropriately, which is why we've obviously said that we don't mind trainers being worn. Obviously, if you are coming in a skirt, perhaps, and you want to wear shorts under your skirt, that's also totally fine. Another question is about support staff. Unfortunately, because of the 2-meter rule, they won't be in classes with you. However, support staff will be around the building, so if you do have any questions or need any help throughout the day, they are there and are available for your help. The final question I had is whether you're able to collect other books and folders from around the building. That is a definite no. There are only dedicated spaces that you are allowed to be in at any given time. What I will say is if you are someone who thinks there are any other books or folders you need, please drop me an email and I will try and make sure they are ready for you to collect in your classroom ready so that you don't have to go around and find them. Obviously, with all of this, if you have any other questions at all or any other concerns, please just drop me an email at any point because what I don't want is that you spend the next few days worrying if it's something that I could maybe clear up over email or over phone. As always, we'll end today's assembly celebrating 2 students who have submitted all of their work for this first week back of this half term. What's great is that once again, we have about 20% of all of you guys submitting every single piece of work every week. Let's see who wins our vouchers this week. Looks like our first winner is Ebtisam. Well done, Ebtisam. Let's see if we can get a second winner. That looks like Siham. Well done, Ebtisam and Siham. There are Amazon vouchers in your email waiting for you. Everyone else, you are always in with a chance to win an Amazon voucher. All you need to do, complete all of your tasks. Have a great day.